Hey guys, this is Shane and welcome to my Curator of the Laws channel. Today, hey, I wanted to talk about, I don't know if I've ever told this story or not, and probably have a lot of new viewers if I haven't, of how I got started really hooked and how I got started selling books online and what some of my first big scores were. And in this, I'm interested in comments, feedback from you guys on how you got started selling online, whether, if it's books or really if it's anything, right? So how you got, in the business, whether it's the hobby or whether you're doing it as a side gig, as a full-time job, how you got started too. So, hey, before we jump into it, I'd like to say thank you. Thanks for the channel support, the views, the comments, and you guys keep watching. I'll keep doing it. Just hit the subscribe button, comments, likes, all that. Get the old YouTube algorithms going, and we'll just keep doing it. See what happens. So let's jump in. I got thinking about this. I was actually ordering a book online and for myself, and it made me think, how easy it is now with eBay and Amazon. And for those that don't remember the day before the internet, finding good books and collectible books and authors that you like could be tough. And one in particular, I love science fiction and Philip K. Dick. And I always remember it was really hard in my local town to find anything with Philip K. Dick. It was out of print. You couldn't find it. It would have to be like a specialty used bookstore. And I remember one time being in north of Aberdeen, Maryland, in this little bitty bookstore. And the guy told me, he said, yeah, if anything I can find by P.K. Dick or Harlan Ellison, I can resell it just so easy. And I picked up 2 or 3 paperbacks there to read, and it was just amazing that he had them, right? And back in that day, if you didn't know it, there would be at the back of the book or sometimes the back of magazines or comics, booksellers would be send a self-addressed stamped envelope and we'll send you our book list. And that's kind of how book selling business, a lot of times it happens. Catalogs or these, you get mailed in, you get the current list, right? And of course the internet, Amazon, eBay, it's so much easier now. It's of course now opportunities not only is for us to collect and find things we want to read, but as resellers, that's what we do and what we love, right? So, flash forward, the late 90s, how I was kind of new to eBay, and I had been collecting books, and I had the first book I ever bought to resell a book was Clive Cussler's Raise the Titanic. It was a mid-90s book club reissue that came out with the movie of Titanic, but it was Cussler's Raise the Titanic, and at the time, on the hardback itself, there was a typo in his name. Instead of saying Clive, it said Cliver, C-L-I-V-E-R. And it had a different cover from the original, version. I think it's in the, late 70s, early 80s. And I bought that book for like 50 cents and I sold it for 75 bucks. And so I was like, man, there is something, I like this. In addition just to buying collectibles and building out things I like, I really like finding these cool things and selling them. And so I was like, there's something here. So, I kind of piddled around, but I wasn't like totally hooked. And then I bought a set of filing cabinets. We needed some filing cabinets for our office. This was in this was like the early 2000s. We needed a filing cabinet. So it's 22 years ago. And it was in the paper, which tells you kind of dates it. Filing cabinets, 5 filing cabinets. And they wanted like $400 for them. Or maybe it was 6 filing cabinets. I think it turned out to be. So I went to this house, and it was an elderly gentleman and his wife. And there were 6 filing cabinets. And he said, well, I don't want to do them. I just want to sell them all. $400. But they are full of Playboy magazines, and I want to sell the magazines with them. And in addition to the magazines being all in the filing cabinets, there's boxes of Playboys and Playboy special editions and all kinds of stuff. So he gets to tell me, it kind of got weird, right? It was like evidently These were his sons, an older son, and something had happened to that son. I don't know what happened to him, but by all appearances, the son had passed away. And this guy had been keeping these filing cabinets and these boxes of Playboys for years, because they started from like 1959 and went up through 1995. And what's crazy is in the late 80s, there would be like one copy that was open, and the other copies would still be in the paper wrappers or plastic wrappers. And there would be like 4 or 5 copies of each. So this was full year sets, unopened, and it was that way all the way back through the 70s. And then in the 60s, it wasn't complete sets. There'd just be onesie-twosies. And I think there were a couple from the late 50s, like 59. So it wasn't like the first issue or anything. And then there are all these special issues. And so I was like, so you don't, I just want a filing cabinet. And he's like, no, I want to sell it all. All the filing cabinets, 5 or 6 filing cabinets, and all the Playboys come with it. I just want to get rid of these. I've been holding on to these for years. So I said, okay. So I didn't call my wife about this. I didn't, I'm like, whatever. So I go get a truck, and actually it was a like a SUV Bronco or something like that. And I'm loading these filing cabinets, and I'm starting making them. I'm putting them in our garage, and then boxes of Playboys. And it turned out there were some things that were really weird, where it was like poster board where they had cut out the Playboy models and pasted them on like collages, and they were all rolled up. I mean, there was some really weird stuff, right? But there were hundreds of, literally 5 or 6 filing cabinets and all these boxes full of Playboys. And so I sold them. I sold them on eBay. I would put them in by the year, and you had to sell them at the time. I don't know how it is now, but at the time, since it was vintage stuff, like all the stuff that before a certain date anyway, you could sell under what they called everything else category. Then there was, I guess, one region area that was like the adults, and people had to certify that they were over 18. And so I would put these things by the year and all these special editions, and I sold it. So my $400 got me 5 or 6 filing cabinets, this pile of stuff, and I turned that in to like $6,000 profit. And at that point, I was hooked. I'm like, man, this eBay selling books, I had my Clive Cussler victory, then I had my pile of Playboys victory, and I'm thinking, man, I'm up like $6,000 on this. This is great. At that point, I was hooked. And ever since then, I've always bought, both for collecting, but also to resell, and just I've never looked back. It's just been that way now for 20 years. So anyway, that's my story, how I got started. It's believe me, when my wife came home and there was, did you get the filing cabinets? Yes, and some extra stuff, and piles, literally piles, hundreds. There were there were a ton of them. Because like I said, some of the later years had multiple copies that were still bagged, right? That was a story to explain, right? So friends, I got a lot of ribbing over, selling all of this stuff, but it was, that's how I got hooked. That's how I got in it. So I'd be interested to hear your story, how you got started reselling. Maybe what was your first book that you sold that was the awesome, resale that got you, and how did you get into it? Why did you get into it? So anyway, that's it. That's my story. Hopefully you guys remember, see cool, buy cool, then list it so you can sell it. And hey, I'm struggling on sourcing right now. It's not coming easy. I'm not finding a lot at any of my stops. Finding some cool stuff along the way, but it's really slow for me right now. It's kind of bizarre. I'm hoping I get the December, January people turning things in. Historically, I've had some good success on that, but there's ebb and flow, and you just have to keep. You just keep grinding at it. So hopefully you guys are having good luck, and I look forward to your stories. And again, subscribe and comment, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.